What's up, everybody? Brad Petty back again from NPi Entertainment. I'm sitting with my friend Ramsey Duqum from AAble Rents. How are you, Ramsey?
What's up, man? I'm doing great. How are you? Beautiful day.
It is. It's awesome. I'm actually sitting in my basement studio. I got to get outside. I have a meeting at 3:30, so I'm looking forward to getting some sunshine.
Oh, it's beautiful out there. Oh, it's beautiful.
AAble Rents, one of the, if not the premier tenting companies in Cleveland, Northeast Ohio. Started in 1970. You are located where?
1365 Chardon Road, about 15 minutes east of downtown Cleveland.
Where'd the name AAble come from?
That's a really good question. The short version of it is my grandparents moved their 7 kids from LA to Cleveland to start an extension of AAble Rents. They worked at AAble Rents in LA for maybe 10 years. They performed very good, and then the owner of AAble said, hey, I want to start in Cleveland. So they picked up and moved 7 kids, 2 parents, 2 dogs, and a cat from LA to Cleveland. And I think 8 years later, fired my grandparents from AAble Rents. And my grandfather and my grandmother literally said, well, what are we going to do? We just moved out here, 8 years or so ago. And they said, well, we're going to start a rental company and we'll compete against AAble Rents. And at that time, phone book advertising was where it's at. So ABBEY, he goes, screw you, I'll go AABLE. And he goes, I'll put you out of business in 7 years. His greatest satisfaction was going to the store closing auction after 5 and bought some stuff that he didn't really need just because he's like, this is what happens when you fire us after we move our kids over. Karma is one hell of a drug.
That's an amazing story. I love it. Real funny side note, one of our DJs, Mike Philly, said that one of his first jobs when he was young was actually working for AAble.
And I bet he got a tan. He got to work outside, see things he never got to see before. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I cannot tell you how many thousands of people. We've been here 50 years. Literally thousands of people we've employed. And when I was driving, when I was younger, you would literally just be driving down the road. It didn't happen often, but it would happen. And they'd be like, is Kim there? I worked there when I was 16, da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, good. It's like a brother and sisterhood. Hard work.
I love it.
It was a lot harder before.
I've been on a lot of events that feature AAble tents, and I have a lot of clients who call me up and have questions about tents. And that's one part of the event industry that I don't know much about. You know what I mean? I every weekend I'm in an event that's in a tent, but I'm not really that knowledgeable when it comes to it. When somebody calls you up, where do you start the conversation?
Well, it's pretty systematic, and it always generally starts with, hi, I'm looking to do, and then they fill it out. And then I train the sales staff to let them speak for maybe 30 to 45 seconds. It's the complete opposite what they normally teach you in sales. And once they start studying around, they'll get to the point where they literally will say, well, this is the first time that I'm doing this. And then in our sales script, that's when we take over and we say, that's okay because we do this every single day. How about we ask you some questions, and it's pretty systematic in the questions. Where are we going? How many people? What type of event? And then we just kind of take over, and you just answer questions, which is much more comfortable for people. And then we just tell you what you need instead of ask you.
You do a lot of different events, weddings, graduations, big ticket events. Tell me about some of the cooler ones that you've done that you're allowed to talk about.
So we did one for Ride the Rainbow at a airport hangar, which was just so interesting. I'm going to use the word interesting because you got to deal with FAA regulations. You have set time frames you can come in and out. The building was literally split in half between Richmond Heights and Highland Heights. And no offense to Highland Heights, but we spent more time in their fire department than we spent on the job site because the back half of the building was in their city. Literally, the city line splits the building in half. And because they had more square footage than Richmond Heights of the building, then University Hospitals literally had to put in doors into this hangar just to have the event. And I think maybe a week before, maybe 5 days before, they cut our timeline back by 10 hours on the install, because you can't shut an airport down, right? But they have to air traffic control planes to not go on the runways where our trucks and our guys are building out, because there's literally a red line that says, don't go past. So we're hugging this red line. We're literally, I remember I worked maybe 20 hours straight. And because we threw the guys, I mean, literally 20 hours, there was nobody left to do the standby. So at the time I lived in Lyndhurst, I drove home, and there was one guy. I said, you could come home with me. We got 20 minutes of sleep. We changed. I had to give him boots, and he's like 6'3", and I'm not that tall. I'm like, dude, I'll find you some boots. And I'll find some like long pants like of my other brother. And we went back on the standby, and then we did a 4-hour standby. And I was like, they said the water ran out in the bathroom because these people were drinking so much. Like the restroom's supposed to be 4 hours for 1,500 people. They ran that bad boy out in 2 hours. And I was like, you know what? Like, I just want to eat sushi because I know nothing's really going to go wrong at this thing. Once it's up, I was so wasted from being tired. And they're like, oh, we need a rental out. One of the AAble guys at the restroom trailer. And I'm like, no. I'm joking. We got a pump out. We ordered it in. They came in. Literally FAA regulation. They had to get escorted onto the tarmac to bring in the pump truck to pump the trailer out.
Oh my God.
It was, we call them little battles that we go through, like to get some of these things done. And a lot of them nobody ever knows about. But that was a really cool. I mean, we built 13 or 14,000 square feet, fully heated, attached to the building. We literally got up and attached it, like the hangar doors go, and this structure goes right up against the door. And then we built this custom surround to connect it so it looks like just a wall of vinyl, and then the tent as an extension onto the tarmac. It was really awesome. I was just joking around with Jamie Belkin a couple days ago about it. She brought it up, and I'm like, oh, I remember that one. Oh, I remember that one. That was a good one.
I love checking out your website and YouTube, because you get to see all these crazy creations that you've made, because, you know, people think tents and they don't understand what goes into building a tent, and especially if a house is on a hill or overlooking the lake, or, you know, there's so many different things, so many different variables. You're the CEO of AAble, but you're actually out there getting your hands dirty and working on these projects, right?
Yeah, some of them, like some of the real intricate ones, will go out, and they don't really like me to go out because I'm like really detail oriented. Like, this got to move, this got to move, and I've learned, because I'll generally now go out at the end, like when they're the most tired. But when it's like the finished detail stuff, and that, like, I've learned to, you know, what I think is not right, 99.99% of clients don't even notice. But, right, you know, as you know, your staff is like the most important. So there's some things that I just got to let go at the end. Sure. And, but yeah, like right now, I go out and I'll do a little bit of everything. But as far as the course, kind of fun.
I've been hosting these interviews during the coronavirus and talking to different people in the event industry and getting their perspectives on how they've had to adapt, or different things that they're doing in the midst of all this. How has it affected you in your business?
Well, I just had a meeting with the staff this morning. I said to them, we were efficient, like, because we're kind of obsessed with reimagining systems and processes, and we redesigned and made a truck from scratch that was like 2.5 trucks in one. It kind of breaks a lot of rules. Like that's fun. So this was a great fun opportunity, quite frankly, to like reimagine like this business and how it should run, where it's insulated from its, scaling up and scaling down in such a dramatic way. One of the things that, we have an advantage of and we're blessed is my brother and I started a freight logistics company 2 years ago. So it's like the baby brother to AAble Rents. Like, so whatever AAble is doing, whatever trucks and assets we have left, we have a logistics team upstairs in the upper offices that run the freight business.
Okay.
So if we could squeeze in a load here, squeeze in a load here, once the rental went, then we pivoted, which is a really overused word, but it's accurate.
Right.
We scaled up AAble Logistics, where then AAble Rents was the baby to AAble Logistics. So we were delivering truckloads of ventilators, and we were going into the hot zones in New York, the East Coast, picking up disinfectants and just delivering them all over the East Coast in our trucks. While the rental was coming back and is coming back. But before, I just relayed that we were a efficient diesel truck. And because there's a shortage of fuel revenue in this business, we have to, again, within the rental side, pivot it and to do a mix of a hybrid and gas vehicle because there's a shortage of fuel. So we just outlined, just let it out today. It literally says our reimagined flow, where we gave people jobs and responsibilities and orders where if one is doing one thing, then another person comes in underneath of them and fulfills their responsibility in that role. It's a very fluid. Titles are out the door. I've never really been big on titles anyways.
Right.
But they bought in because, it's either adapt or die. But what we say here, it's adapt, and there is no or.
Right.
You just adapt.
I was reading your bio on the AAble Rents site, and you had an interesting beginning. Tell me about was it a skydiving school?
No, it was a Sky High indoor skydiving facility. It would have been the 7th in the country at the time. That's what I wanted to do when I got out of college. So I was flying in. There was one guy, they put a Boeing 747 jet engine into the floor of these skydiving places. So I had a business plan. I had everything. I had raised the money for it from a couple investors. Like, I was broke coming out of college, but I just had a plan. And it was exciting. It was the marketing thing was going to be added to your list because there's only I don't remember the number, but there's only 10 or 15 things you could do on a date, right? You go to the movie, you go bowling, you go dinner, you go boring. Well, why don't you just get up, get lifted by a jet engine and fly and impress her or him that way?
Hell yeah.
So it was going to be added to your list. There was going to be a frequent flyer club. Oh, you're bringing me back, Brad. But my grandmother approached me. My grandmother approached me about AAble because I lived with her at the time. And by the way, I had a Fast and the Furious, I don't know if I can say it, but it was those D-bag cars. That was me. I had one of those. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this indoor skydiving thing. That's awesome. Somehow convinced some people that I was worth investing in. And then my grandmother, God bless her, comes in and was like, we're really struggling at AAble. Could you help out? Long story short. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a chance because I love her. And, I just never went back. If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't do it again. But now that it's already been done and it is what it is.
Nice. And it's a family business.
It was not a struggle.
Yeah. Well, family business, you and your brother run it, right?
Yeah. Well, it's part of the thing I said to my grandmother when I came in is family businesses have too much politics in them. I'm going to run a business. The family stuff takes a back seat to everything. So I don't want to get too specific, but I don't look at the word because I grew up in it where it divides families and like rinse and repeat times a million people's stories in the country. They just
Yeah.
don't generally like to talk about it. That's what happened here. And there was too much politics. And I said, we do it this way. We run it like a business where the employees are equal to the family, or I don't come in. And I have leverage because I had indoor skydiving. So
right. You're
it was
like, hey, take it or leave it.
yeah, it is. I don't really need this. So, and got true to her word. November 2006, she goes, he's in charge. If he asks you to jump, you ask how high. And this little 4'11" woman, just the strength of a pillar, right? And she stuck to her word. And it was hard, but yeah, it got turned around.
That's great. So you're a Cleveland boy, born and raised in Northeast Ohio?
Cleveland proud.
I always like to get some shout outs. What are you into in town? What are your go-to spots, restaurants, things to do, events?
Number one, Pho, Superior Avenue. Like Pho changed my life. I live now in Midtown, and like it's right outside Asia Town.
Yep.
Like you walk in there, you know, you want to go where the native people eat, right? Like if you're Vietnamese or you're like Korean, you want to go to Korea House.
Right.
Like I don't want these like fab places where it's just Americans. Like that's where the real people go to eat.
Yeah. So you're number one.
Pho.
There's always an ongoing debate between number one and Superior.
Superior. I tried Superior. I tried it one time. And you know, to each their own, and I'm not saying it wasn't good, but it wasn't great. But number one Pho was great.
All
yeah.
Right. What else?
And I'm an East Side guy, and I grew up in the Lyndhurst, South Euclid area.
You ride a motorcycle, right? Anywhere especially you like to go riding?
Anywhere that is just quiet. Like the East Side, like Chagrin River Road is awesome. I'll take Chardon Road.
Yep.
The beautiful thing about motorcycles, you just go. You don't really care where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sound kind of boring because like where I'm sitting right now at AAble, like this is my like baby. So I'm here a lot. And
right.
I mean, I can tell you where some good places to order on Uber Eats is.
Well, anybody watching this who's in the event business knows that it's not a 9 to 5, 40-hour a week type thing. This is something that we live, and it's just something you do nonstop, Monday through Sunday.
Yeah, if I could interject on that part, because you're absolutely right. But 2015 changed my life. We went through a really tough thing in July. It was like July 23rd, 2015. We call it Hell Week here. And like I worked 36 straight hours, and then I was upstairs sleeping in sleeping bags with a couple guys next to me. And then we came back down, did it all over again. And at the end of 2015, my brother and I, we went on the survival trip, like into the woods of Montana. And we asked one of the gals in the office, find us a place that cell phones don't work. And if we got lost, nobody would find us. So she went on Instagram and found this Handkerchief Lake and Flathead National Forest in Montana. And 2 days later, we were where we found it on Google Earth. Like we just flew. And that was like our recovery. And what we said, and we were there for 8 days, like in the woods with nothing except our backpacks in bear season. And I did wake up to a bear in our camp, and that was when they hibernate and they eat like 68,000 calories a day. So I don't recommend that in November. But with that being said, in 2016, 2017, we came in and we had this thing. It set this groundwork for reimagining event business. And we were upstairs talking about it on our deck, and I fell off the chair because we're just brainstorming, right? We're just thinking. And I was like, we got to have a 10-hour mindset. And I realized that we put ourselves in these precarious situations of working 6-7 days a week. We do it ourselves. And didn't think that was sustainable. So I presented to the company in January or so of 2018, this 10-hour mindset, 10-hour workday mindset. And everyone looked at me like probably you and everyone else who might be watching this would be like, there's no way. No, you can't do this and you can't do it. And I was like, to be fair, I didn't have an answer. I didn't know how, but you know, any business owner or visionary in a company, I always tell people and teach people, you got to set an address. You can't just, no one jumps in their car without knowing where they're going, right? So you jump in your car, you put the address of a 10-hour workday into the GPS, and then how you know where you're going to get there, but how you get there, the detours, the traffic, the accidents, that's the people, that's the market, but you're going to get there. And in 2019, at the end, I was so excited for how many hours did we average? We averaged 9.3 hours a day.
Wow.
Monday through Friday. We turned down hundreds of thousands of dollars of orders on the weekends, because we're not going to live like that. And one of the reasons why I'm just in, high-end tenting and flooring with, traditional tables and chairs is because we're always first ones in, last ones out.
Right.
So we're always building during the week, and then we pick up during the week. So we can give our people the weekend, and we're not flipping the tent and taking the lights out and doing all those things. So my staff can have a more traditional schedule. And we built software that allocates them and their hours like months in advance by the level of the job. So we knew where the address is, and then it just took a cerebral approach to get to that 10 hours, and we did it. And at the end, when I presented this to the staff, I'm like, how many of you thought 2 years ago that this would be possible? And everyone's like, no. 2 people were like, I did. I thought we figured it out.
That's great.
I love it. So yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm kind of passionate about that.
No, that's great.
Be done. It can be done.
A balance is definitely a good thing, and that's cool that you found it. Let's end this with a tip for. I'm talking to a lot of folks right now working on outdoor weddings. Can you give them a couple tips when they're considering their options in regards to services that include you?
It's a lot, and I don't say this self-servingly. That's just the market, the conditions that we're in. It's a lot freer and to do it at your home. You're in more control of it, which requires tenting. And believe it or not, we're doing quite a bit of weddings where venues canceled for people. And to all the venues out there, God bless you guys. We are literally all in this together. But if you're having a wedding, the uncertainty of the regulations by a third party, our government, and I respect what they've done and the position that they've been in, they're just humans as well. They're trying to look out for people's health. And it's like politics mixed with medical. It's just bananas, right?
Right.
But if you're doing it at your home, you have a lot more freedom to make it what you want it. And there are amazing vendors like NPi that come in and outfit things and can make it what you want it, just in a more freeing, it's your home. It's your personal space. No one's coming to your house and being like, get away from grandma.
Right. Right. And you've got the backyard, you can spread out, and your dance floor could be as big as you want it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't keep people apart. You can't keep your family apart. You just can't. We're social beings. We're going to interact with each other, whether it's video, but this only goes for so long before we need each other.
Right.
And that's what's happening right now. It's literally explosive right now. Like as I sit here right now, what's today? The phones are just blowing up. People are so backlogged and ready to get out.
Yeah, people are definitely ready to get outside, including myself. I'm ready to go enjoy this afternoon.
You get out there, buddy.
Well, Ramsey, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, and I'm glad I was able to do this with you. Where can people find you online?
Hiding.
Hiding online? Lurking?
I mean, you know, Instagram Ramsey001. I'm not a real big poster of things. AAble Rents is where it's at AAble Rents. Instagram, AAbleRents.com with 2 A's, and Google. I mean, we're everywhere online, and thank God, and thank NPi, and thank everybody who tags us and all the stuff that you guys do. Because we're not game day staff. Like I said, we're not there on the weekends.
Right.
So we don't get to see as beautiful as everybody makes it, as audio visual techy as you guys make it in the lighting. So thank you to everybody. And if you look at our tag section on our Instagram, there are way more beautiful photos like outfitted than the ones we post when we're building it, right?
There's definitely a lot of them. All right. Well, hey, man.
Yeah.
Thanks again, and stay safe and keep that balance. I like that.
You as well, buddy. I appreciate you thinking of me.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.